Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku podcast. I am Brandon, the Scarlet fan here, and I'm so excited to be here to talk some awesome anime with you guys today. And we're talking not just any kind of anime, we're talking the awesome and wildly popular My Dress Up Darling. This show is awesome. It's funny. It's naughty. But what a celebration of the art of cosplay. And we have so much to talk about and enjoy as we jump in this new episode covering this awesome show. Um, made by Cloverworks, produced by Square Enix, two great companies that have done many shows that I love and Isaac loves. And hopefully that also Mike has been able to enjoy. But we have the entire Amateur Otaku crew together to talk this awesome anime. And let's welcome them in. Let's welcome them in. I cannot talk today. Mike Thomas and the great Isaac Wolf. You guys ready? I'm ready.
Let's do it.
And Isaac's awkwardly silent.
He's muted for some reason. Isaac, wake up, man.
Do you know?
We-
Do you know what you call a cowboy cosplayer?
What, Isaac?
Ranch dressing.
So, guys, did you guys? What was your experience with cosplay? Because I'm just pivoting from what Isaac's saying here. Have you guys ever been into cosplay? Ever really understood cosplay?
I've
Before getting
never
into this show.
I've never done it. I've had ideas of doing it. But similar to Shinji, I have one of those body types that I just feel that needs a lot of work before I can even try something that I would like, you know.
Mhm.
But I think I never understood the depths of cosplay and the cosplay artist side of it, like after watching this show, because there's so much simplicity, sincerity, and genuineness in everything that's explored in this show that I am so happy that I watched it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm so happy that I watched it. I'm so happy that I've thought about doing it. I look at all the pictures that I see a different way now. They're still sexy, but I look at them in a very different way now. Um, and I don't know. I'm more appreciative of it because a lot of times anybody from the outside can see the idea of cosplaying or a cosplayer and see it as a hobby and leave it at that, right?
Right.
Of course, there's some of those that look like over the top, and we're like, oh my god, this guy like he became Optimus Prime or he became freaking Deadpool, right? But then seeing the emotion that can be there that pushes people to this, it's like, wow, now I watch them and like, man, that's awesome. That's a work of art. It's transcendence, right? And I'm glad that we're able to see a show and talk about a show that explores this. And how much in detail it goes in, right?
Right.
Did you guys watch it? I binged it. You guys watched it weekly, right?
Yeah.
I watched it, weekly. It's one of those things because it's funny. Usually we have an idea of the stuff we're going to cover here, and this was just a show Isaac and I were kind of watching. It's like, yeah, we're going to talk about this at the end of the season because it's really fun. It's surprisingly popular, and it's one of those shows where, when you can look past the fan service and like you're legitimately watching it for the plot, for the characters, and you see the passion that's in the story, right?
I got a
Wink,
feeling
wink.
that Isaac's gonna pull some kind of meme here, and it's gonna be so bad.
You
But
know
before,
that cosplayers are just con artists. So.
oh my god. Well, we're gonna jump into all the details, all the juicy bits.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And to answer your question about my history with cosplayer, I can't go into detail pretty much because then this podcast would be more R-rated than it usually is. So
I mean, we're covering a mature show, but I mean,
it would be even it would be R-rated than more R-rated than it usually is. Trust me.
worse than Suicide Girls. Okay, so we're gonna
What?
jump into the,
I don't want to open up that can of worms. We're just gonna leave that alone. Go ahead, Brandon, take it away.
I'm just saying midnight. Mike, understand what I'm saying.
all I'm saying is that's the name of the show that Marin likes in the
Yeah. But
Okay,
I'm saying
so
there's a code word of what I'm talking about.
pineapples. Um, so okay, this is getting out of control. But guys, if you love what we do at the Amateur Otaku Podcast,
New listeners are going to be like, these freaking idiots. What are they talking about?
yes,
Yeah.
make sure to watch us on our YouTube channel. Click on that subscribe button. Click on the bell for notifications so you don't miss any anime and manga coverage. We bring in new anime shows and reviews every single week. We're actively covering My Hero Academia manga, My Hero Academia Vigilantes manga, the new Genosuke's Doron Doron manga. We're going to start doing Kaiju number 8. Last week we did Nishijo My Ordinary Life. This week we're doing this. Next week we're doing multiple animes every single week. Make sure you don't miss any of it. And if you prefer to listen to us in podcast form, make sure to go to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. Anchor, you can find the Amateur Otaku Podcast. Now, without further ado, and naughtiness aside, which is not possible, let's talk my dress up darling. I think we've all spoken about general ideas, how we've enjoyed this and why we like this show. But I think it's best if we go into detail. And the first thing I want to talk about is that what a perfect pilot for this show.
Yeah.
It's like hook, line, and sinker. Like it's at the level of My Hero. I've talked about it multiple times. Those first 2 episodes of My Hero are like defining. Like you either like it or don't, right? They're like so good, so powerful, so heavy. But what a perfect pilot! Like it's just great. It's powerful. It's to the point, and I also like how it makes it very clear what it's supposed to be about and what it's trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that it's funny because it's one of those episodes of one of those shows that it gives you the background of one of the main characters, tells you what he's about, and then you have the other character saying all the right things, but there's enough distance between them. But it doesn't. It is done so well that in no way, shape, or form it feels like plot convenience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. Totally.
Because we've all been there, right? We've all been there at that point where we feel that we either like something or we're involved in something that separates us from others for the simple fact that others can't even begin to understand because either they're not into the exact same thing or they're not into something that requires a similar amount of passion, because some people are very exclusive when it has to do with hobbies or things that are extensions of themselves, right? Like there's no way that someone that doesn't do podcasts can understand how complicated it can be to run one.
Exactly.
But when you get with other podcasters or you get with other creators, it's like you're talking with old friends. There's a sense of understanding, and then when you get to talk to someone that likes to talk about the same type of interesting stuff that you like to talk about, it transcends. But I love the fact that here that's not what happens. It's not the fact that they like the same things, it's that the passions complement each other, which is the most common thing that you see between artists, right? which
Right.
which is why I like it the most, because we're all artists here. We either write, create, we love talking about this all random movies and stuff like that, right? But we all have we all have a particular set of skills, and it's not the fact that we have the same skills. It's the fact that we're able to look at each other in awe and respect of each other's skills, no matter how different they are. That kind of brings us closer to work together and create these crazy stuff. And that's the feeling that drives the show. And I like the fact that you have that narrative and the romance plot running side by side to each other, and none of them feels like it's overtaking the other. Because you know how sometimes you can have, especially in anime, I think you see it a lot, that the romance plot just takes over everything.
Yeah.
I like that this didn't happen. Like the art stuff, the details were always in the forefront, and they brought different characters in to bring to spin to kind of like flesh out the characters more and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's a
But
lot of
they are
stuff.
more than likely going to end up together. That's for certain with how they're pushing it.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but they handle it in a unconventional way is what
Yeah,
makes
that's
it
for sure. And
interesting.
I think I know that Brandon might be out of the loop here, but Gojo make Koichi as a Casanova in comparison. Honestly,
Yeah, so that's a reference to My Hero Academia Vigilantes, if you guys aren't watching those videos. But Gojo, and that's what I'm with you there, Brandon. Like Gojo and Miran's entire relationship, I think, is very interesting because it is that it's not that they necessarily have anything in common, but the passion is what's driving them towards each other. It's why they're the perfect combination, right? And I think that's such an interesting way to go about it. And the fact that, like you said before, that part of the relationship stays at the forefront, and then everything is developing around from there.
right.
And so it's not getting too convoluted. It's not getting unrealistic. And it's honestly that's what makes it very endearing in a way because
Yeah.
you're kind of just watching it naturally progress. And that it's still very anime and fast paced and kind of in your face at times, but
Yeah.
I just think the way they handle it was just so well done that it hooks you, like you said, right in episode 1.
Yeah.
I
No,
wouldn't call it very anime, but I would call it very realistic. But that's just me.
and it's funny that you say that because you said, Mike, that is very anime, and Isaac said that is very realistic. But I love the fact that it's actually both,
Right.
and in a high bar because you got to think about it. I mean, because there's no way that you talk about cosplaying without talking about the process and breaking that process down. You have a character that you love. You watch the anime, you play the video game, you watch the manga, then you get a sketch together. Then you go to the store, you find out, holy crap, the fabric is too expensive, but it's going to be better for this. And I like the fact that you have the enthusiasm of Marin on one side, and the fact that for some reason she loves it so much that she works her ass off to put money aside for it. And then you have the artist kind of like being able to kind of like give us the no, like, oh no, this is why you use this fabric and this is what you do with this and da, 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 da. Like it's like watching a behind the scenes, this is how we make this cosplay.
Yeah.
And the idea that you have that episode where he's like, he kind of like misunderstood Marin and stayed up 2 weeks to make the dress, and you can see that he's losing sleep and like all those things, which are things that happen. And the fact that she gets sweat, like that whole scene, it's played for laughs, right? But that is how it happens. Those suits are super tight for her, and the type of cloth that it was used is very heavy. So now she's sweating all over and she's dying. The boob bag, like there's so much detail into this that you got to think about it. So this it goes from the point of enjoying their journeys as characters, and then you start going to the other side and it gets meta, where you go like, so that's what cosplayers go through.
Yeah.
That's 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 what they do when you do pictures, because when we see the pictures, all we see is the perfection of the shot. We don't see everything else. Like when you see them get to the Comic Con, I've never been to one, but when you see them get to the Comic Con and pose, they're in these masterpieces that most of them, if not all of them, made by their own with their own hands. You don't think that they're dying to take it off after they leave, but
It's
you don't, and you also don't see the journey of them doing all this up to way to this point, which is why I like how this is why I like shows like this, which is very slice of life, right? Of the show to be to show us the day to day of these people. And I like how they found excuses to go to the next dress, but it also felt very organic. It didn't feel like, oh, we just need another episode.
right.
um, did you did you guys have a favorite episode or a favorite character or anything like that?
Favorite episode. I mean, that last one was really great. Honestly, the
Yeah.
finale my like I loved every single episode,
Yep.
but the finale was just where it all kind of comes together and it's just like, dang, I can't believe I'm gonna have to wait 3 or 4 years to see the next season of the show.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think there is going to be. I think this is it. I think the volumes of the manga end here. I think so.
No,
There's
it's
more?
still ongoing. Yeah,
No, it's over. It's over. It's only
No.
9 volumes. Yeah. It's only 9
currently.
volumes.
It's 9 volumes. They release 1 chapter a month, and the anime is pretty much caught up. And so it's going to take a long time for them to get enough material to keep going.
Yeah, my understanding, I think this is it. It was always planned to be just 12 episodes.
Yeah, but it's more manga coming up, so it will be take a while before it gets a season 2.
Oh, okay, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
So it is done. It is caught up, but it's caught up with the material that's available.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie. If this is where it ends, I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah,
Because-
that's why that ending was so
Yeah.
strong, right? Because it leaves you satisfied.
And it also leaves you with the whole thing. Like, for example, one of the things that I've always talked about, and I've mentioned it when me and Isaac talked about Weathering with You, when we talked about Your Name, and it's that one of the things that I love about anime romances, especially teenage romances or even young adult romances, is that you don't have the over. Well, I don't think this is the best example, but you don't have the over sexualization of love that you have in Western media. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
like we don't believe that love is there until they get laid, right? Like a lot of times that's like the misconception that's always like pronounced to the winds in most movies. Hence why people went crazy with friggin' what's the word, 50 Shades or whatever. But I like the fact that they didn't have to say that they were together for you to understand that that's what that conversation meant. That's what that date, that moment meant, or the fact that's what their journey led up to, you know? Especially when you see Gojo kind of like realizing next year, that sounds awesome. Like he didn't freak out anymore. And it was like, yes, this is my life. She's around, you know? Which is one of the other reasons why I liked Horimiya so much, because it's something that feels more real, more quaint, and I don't know, it's just beautiful. It's great. Isaac, did you have a favorite episode or favorite scene?
Well, it might sound off to saying that, but my favorite episode was honestly the Love Hotel episode, because I could just not doing anything but burst off laughing, just for everything that was going on.
What I liked about that episode also was how sincere it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in your mind, you're thinking, okay, we're going to do the whole thing and it's not going to happen. And we're just going to go to the next thing. But the fact that it got to the point where it became too real and they dealt with it and moved on, I like the sincerity of that moment.
That's one thing I enjoy about the show as a whole, is that it's, like you said, sincere, right? It's there are moments where this thing can go off the rails really quickly and be a different kind of anime.
Yes.
But
I mean, it starts with the whole Suicide Girls thing. That's like, what?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
the fact, I mean, at this point, this episode's already M-rated, but the fact that after they're watching the anime, right? I mean, they go by that episode where they go, which to me is one of the most funniest. This to me is like the funniest moment of the show for me. One of the most funniest is that he goes, and I'm gonna say, guys, I'm sorry, there's no way to describe it. So they go to eat ramen after buying all the materials for the first dress, and there's this lady in the line to go into the restaurant.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, look, teenagers, that's awesome." And then they're walking past this lady, and they're talking about the show, just talking about the show. And it goes like, "Yeah," and then the main character's just sitting there, and he's ejaculating nonstop. And she's like, "What? This is what they're talking about."
So funny. Such a
Yes.
good gag.
Yes. And it's one of those things that the way they're talking about it is it's healthy because they're just talking about the art of it. They're talking about what it means to them. Like I like that none of the scenes that were supposed to be explicit are done for the sake of exploitation. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's all narrative based and pushed, and it makes sense. And I like the because it's the play of we're just kids and what's going on, da, 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 which is great.
for sure, for sure. There's a lot of like situational humor is
Mm-hmm.
so on point with this one. Like I'm
Yeah.
with Isaac, where at sometimes I'm just in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. And I just want to give a shout out to one, the original voice actors. They did a phenomenal job with this show. But also the dub voice actors,
Oh my god.
really,
Yes. Yes.
they nailed it. And it just,
Yes.
hearing it in your own language in English, I'm just sitting here like, okay, these jokes hit even more because they're not going by too fast. I don't have to pause and try and read the subtitles.
Yeah.
So both crews did a phenomenal job making that humor come to life, but also making those softer, quieter moments also really stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the thread that I loved the most, of course, my favorite character,
Thread.
Phantom. Um, the I love the character of Marin, of course. I love the character of Shinji, but my favorite character, of course, is Gojo.
Yeah.
Because I relate to him a lot, and I like how his journey of. I mean, we see this. We gotta agree, he is a stereotype of romance anime. He's the kid that doesn't know the world, but his newfound friend or love opens up the world to him, right?
Right.
Which is very typical, which is fine. But what I like about his character is that the growth that he goes through expands beyond Marin and expands to his art, especially his interactions with Juju, his interactions with Shinji, but specifically his interact with the idea of art and what is beautiful, and the fact that as he's discovering how beautiful the world is and how that affects him as an artist, that to me was like that hit home, you
Yeah.
know, because when you see him admiring things and then you have Marin admiring it, but then you get his inner monologue and you're like, this guy is an artist. He's been an artist all his life. And not only that, because he is an artist, he was made fun of because he loved art. And the fact that he's able to carry on and love art freely, not just because it's the right thing, but also because he has someone that loves art differently, but with him, is great.
Yeah, and I really like how both characters kind of help each other grow throughout the series. Of course, it's really one-sided with Gojo's character. But like I just her being able to understand how the cosplay works. Him also like excuse me, gotta slow down. Whew. The shared interest, like you were saying at the top of the show, and them learning from each other. Because she didn't know jack about cosplay. At this point, I don't even know if she really cosplayed until she started working with Gojo.
No, I don't
Um,
think so.
yeah, it didn't feel like it. So them understanding that, and then you get the callback where she's going to work as hard as she can to afford that camera, which is something we haven't mentioned since like episode 5. Just shows that she's understanding the process, and they're becoming a better team in that regard. But they're also becoming way closer.
Yeah.
And again, they never officially state that they're dating one another, which I thought was very interesting on how you leave that season off with episode 12 on that note. But I think that's what makes it really appealing, because they kind of did have that slow burn,
Yeah.
as opposed to episode 1 he meets Kitagawa. Episode 4, he meets 2 other girls, and boom, it's a harem anime all of a sudden. We didn't do that, thank God.
Yes.
But that's why I keep saying, like, this could have gone south very quickly, and it didn't. And it's just so wholesome in that regard, even though it's still TV and MA.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the whole harem thing, because I kind of didn't want it to be like now we're going to just have a new girl every episode
Mm-hmm.
that wants dress. I like the fact that they were there for a little bit. And I love the fact that they were there so that Gojo's character could grow. Because that's really what they were there for. That's those supporting roles were there to push Gojo in a different direction, because it allowed him to grow as an artist and as a character. And then after they leave, you still have like what 2-3 episodes where it's just the two of them again, and it's
Right.
all about deepening the relationship, which is great, which is just great. Isaac, do you have anything else to add about this phenomenal and naughty anime?
I also find it funny every time how she essentially thinking about that she is interested in him. She gets hungry constantly, which is very.
Oh, stop!
Yeah.
Stop!
Oh
Stop!
gosh.
Oh man!
I just have to say that the outfits in this show were legitimately great. Like, since that's a big part of the show, the cosplay itself, like the finished outfits, were phenomenal. Like,
Yes.
one thing I appreciate is like in the intro, you see the like the little montage of Kitagawa and all the cosplays, but you also see her in like street clothes. And I'm just like, oh, that's dope, because in most shows we wear the same outfit every single episode. It was kind of awesome seeing all the different interpretations, different hairstyles on the same character, which is pretty neat.
I mean, am I wrong in what they are trying to joke about?
I appreciate you trying to reiterate the joke about her being horny all the time, but that's good.
I mean,
Isaac.
it's a mature show.
You know what? If you're gonna talk about that, we got to talk about the tissues. No, I'm kidding. So, so I mean, it happened a lot. So,
I can't believe she took him to a love hotel, y'all, and didn't think anything of it. That's so interesting.
Well, remember, she said she didn't figure out it was a love hotel till they got there. All she saw was a room for rent. And when they got there, that's what she found out it was a love hotel. And at that point, they figured, oh, I already spent the money. So, well, I mean, I'm already here. That's kind of what they. And then he literally says, that is a very Kitagawa move. Like,
yeah, because again, a couple episodes prior, they have this whole conversation about how awkward that other cosplay was. And then out of nowhere, she just says, I'll send you pics. It's like she breaks character for 2 scenes just to throw everybody off. It is so funny.
She feels kind of bipolar at times. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, I do want to say this, and this is like a deep cut, but and I don't know if you've seen this anime,
Most likely
Mike,
not.
But Isaac, doesn't the character of Black Lobelia give you X-Death vibe? X-Death, X-Death from Akame.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop thinking about S-Death when I was watching the whole Black Lobelia neon thing. That was actually pretty cool.
Also, I love the misunderstanding with Gojo and his grandpa at the beginning.
Oh, that was just so good. Like the whole funny thing is like the fact that he's thinking, but then again, it's like, and then the cousin is like, oh, you know, he's at that age. That's normal. You're making grandpa. You're making it too big of a deal. That's just hilarious.
Grandpa's awesome, by the way. I just want to point that out. Like, dude's a homie.
Yeah, yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's the kind that you would like, help me. He's like, I'll be right there.
Yeah,
I'll bail you out, bro.
Yeah, I really love how Gojo relates to his grandfather in a way, because they both make those Hina dolls, which we're talking about the cosplay, but the Hina dolls, like that process just looks. I couldn't do it. I just could not do that.
Yep. I look how it ties up, like the whole dress up darling thing. Like she becomes his Hina doll. I like there's a lot of threads here, and I like
my dress up darling. Am I right? That's what the title's saying right there.
Yep.
I need to ask you guys something.
Oh boy.
Do you guys know what the most cosplayed character is
Like in this show.
overall?
In the world,
Yeah,
I mean, Deadpool and Harley Quinn are the first that come to mind, but I'm sure it's
Santa
something.
Claus.
Oh my god.
You know what? I can't believe I tried to answer that in earnest. I shouldn't even bothered.
Uh, well, guys, I mean, what a
And
great. Okay,
also,
I guess
I
we're
have
not
to
done.
mention for everyone that has a leg amputee, the best cosplay for you is Legolas.
And we're done. So this was a great episode. What a great series. You guys got to watch My Dress Up Darling. It's fun, it's naughty, but it's sincere and true. If you're a cosplayer, I think you're going to fall in love. Actually, if you're a cosplayer, I want to know what you think of My Dress Up Darling. How faithful is it to your experience, to your process? I actually want to know. And I think we all want to know because everything feels very sincere for us. And we've loved the show so much and want to hear your feedback on it, feedback on the show and your experience. If I don't know, this is awesome. I mean, it's great. It's done. The animation is beautiful. Of course, it's Cloverworks and Square Enix. I mean, they're behind the last seasons of Fairy Tale. They're behind Darling in the Franxx. Was one of my favorite shows ever. Uh, and they did also a bunch of other stuff that's
You
awesome.
mean Horn Evangelion?
Oh my god! So
I mean, it pretty much is.
no, it's
So,
you know what, Isaac? I'm not going to argue with you just because you might be right. So I'm not gonna.
scratch might.
What?
Scratch might from that sentence.
Why am I scratching Mike?
Might.
The word might.
Oh boy.
He's just saying he is right. He's not might right.
See,
Anyway, yeah.
So I think we should end this episode before it gets out of control.
Well, in that case, we should have ended 15 minutes ago.
Well, I mean, before the boob back burst. So,
Oh my.
I mean, it was coming off. So, thank you guys for joining us on this awesome.
If this was your first episode, I am so sorry, dear listeners.
For this awesome, out of control, but great episode on an awesome show, My Dress Up Darling. Go check it out. It's available on Funimation, Crunchyroll, and Wakanim, if I'm not mistaken. And
We have it on the Crunchyroll only.
so
There's
Crunchyroll, scratch Wakanim. But it's a great show. It's only 12 episodes, so it's a very easy watch. It's hilarious, sincere, and I think you'll love. We think you'll love it. So stay tuned for more anime goodness here on the Amateur Otaku channel. If you love what we do here, make sure you click that subscribe button, click on that like button, share with your friends, and click on that bell for notifications so you don't miss any reviews, any coverage, or any of our thoughts on these awesome animes that we cover every single week. And if you want to listen to us in podcast form, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are found, except Podbean. But we are everywhere else. So go hit play and enjoy and follow. Mike, where can people find you in the webs?
You can find me at Novice Cinephile on Twitter and Facebook. Also, the Novice Cinephile on Instagram. And check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Novice Cinephile, where we're talking all things movies, a little bit of anime. That's covers is usually here, though. So make sure you stay tuned here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. And, of course, check out the Chatter After, where we're reviewing movies every other week. We just did Good Will Hunting, and I think you guys will really enjoy that one.
Isaac, I know you're probably about to leave a love hotel, but where can we find you?
Well, you know that Hollywood cosplay of famous composers, and Arnold was back. But anyway, well, you can find my work over to Woobum Entertainment, and you can find me at Devilmaniac on Twitter.
Awesome. And you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram, and at the Scarlet Fan 52 on TikTok, even though I have no idea what we're doing there. And you can follow us at the Amateur Otaku Pod on Twitter. Have it awesome, guys. Peace.